Welcome to the realm of science fiction, where extraordinary adventures unfold and limitless possibilities await. Enjoy the journey. I never thought messing around with an ancient summoning ritual would lead to this. In my defense, it wasn't supposed to actually work. I was just killing time on a lonely Friday night, flipping through an old, weathered book I picked up from a dusty second-hand shop. The thing smelled like old parchment and forgotten secrets, and the guy who sold it to me had muttered something about it being not for the uninitiated, before laughing in a way that was, in hindsight, a giant red flag. Did I take that as a warning? Nope. So there I was, in my tiny apartment, candles flickering around me, chanting what I thought was nonsense in a language that made my tongue feel like it was doing yoga. My cat, Spooky, sat perched on my bookshelf, staring at me with his usual judgmental gaze. Then, boom. 1 second, I was sitting cross-legged in my sweatpants, holding a piece of paper covered in weird symbols. The next, a blinding light exploded from the middle of the room, sending loose papers flying, flickering the lights, and making Spooky launch himself under the couch like a furry missile. And then she appeared. Tall, glowing, otherworldly. She had long, silken strands of silver-blue hair cascading over her shoulders and down her back. Her skin shimmered, shifting iridescent hues like an opal in the sunlight. But what really made my brain short-circuit was the outfit, if you could even call it that. A delicate ensemble of golden filigree and translucent fabric clung to her body in a way that looked both impossibly elegant and wildly impractical. Thin chains of metal traced delicate patterns across her arms and legs, and a glowing crystal sat nestled at the center of her chest. My mouth went dry. The mysterious woman slowly turned her piercing violet eyes toward me, her expression hovering somewhere between regal disdain and mild confusion. Then she spoke. "Mortal, you dare interrupt the sanctified ritual of the Celestial Order?" She spoke English. I had so many questions, but my brain chose the worst possible thing to blurt out. Hi?" Her eyes narrowed. The air around her hummed with raw energy, making the candles flicker even though there was no wind. She tilted her head slightly, her expression unreadable as she studied me like I was some kind of lower life form, which, to be fair, I probably was. I swallowed. "So, funny story. I didn't actually mean to, interrupt anything." Silence. Her expression didn't change. I coughed. "Like, I was just kind of messing around with this book and, you showed up. And, welcome? To my apartment?" More silence. Her eyes flicked down to my sweatpants, and then around my disaster of a living room. Empty takeout boxes on the coffee table, a pile of laundry I had been very much pretending didn't exist, and of course my cat, who was currently peeking out from under the couch with immense disapproval. I could feel my dignity dying a slow, painful death. Then she let out a long, exasperated sigh. "Unbelievable!" I perked up. "So, you're not gonna vaporize me?" She rolled her eyes, and took a step closer. The air crackled around her, and I could smell the ozone as something ancient and powerful stirred in the space between us. "What year is this?" she asked, her voice smoother than silk but carrying an edge of frustration. I blinked. 2025? She muttered something in a language I didn't understand, crossed her arms, and then fixed me with a look that could probably incinerate steel. "You've completely derailed my ascension ritual." There was an uncomfortable pause. I slowly raised a finger. "So, that's bad?" The sheer magnitude of her glare was enough to make me rethink every life decision that led me to this moment. Then she sighed again, rubbing her temples like she was getting the worst headache in the universe. "Mortal, I am Priestess Zalara of the Astral Dominion. You have made a grave mistake, and now by cosmic law you are bound to assist me in rectifying it." My stomach dropped. "Wait, bound? Like, legally?" She smirked. "Oh, little one, like cosmically." And just like that, the golden filigree around her wrists flared with light, and a matching band of shimmering energy appeared around my own wrist. My first thought? Oh, I am so unbelievably screwed. My second thought? But damn, those curves. I stared at the glowing band of cosmic energy wrapped around my wrist, then back at the impossibly tall alien priestess who had just bound me to some kind of celestial contract. "Okay, wait," I said, holding up a hand. "So, you're telling me that because I accidentally interrupted your ritual, I'm now magically, or cosmically, obligated to help you fix it?" Priestess Zalara let out a long, exasperated sigh. The kind of sigh that said she had absolutely no faith in my intelligence and was already regretting every single decision that led to her standing in my living room. "That is correct, mortal," she said, rubbing her temple as though I had personally given her a migraine. "Your interference disrupted a sacred ascension rite. Until it is rectified, we are bound." She gestured toward the golden energy bands shimmering on both of our wrists. I poked at mine experimentally. It did not budge. Cool. So, quick question. What exactly was this ascension thing supposed to do?" Her glowing violet eyes narrowed. "You would not understand." I crossed my arms. "Try me." She exhaled sharply, clearly debating whether I was worth the effort. Then she lifted her hand, tracing a slow, deliberate symbol in the air. Instantly, a cosmic projection flared to life before us. A massive glowing star map with shifting nebulae and intricate celestial pathways. "The ascension ritual was meant to elevate me to a higher plane," she said, her voice filled with something between bitterness and frustration. "As a high priestess of the astral dominion, I was moments away from stepping beyond mortal limitations, attaining divine resonance, and joining the celestial pantheon." She paused, her gaze darkening. "And then, you happened." I shifted awkwardly. "Oof, yeah, okay, that sounds kinda important." It was. Silence stretched between us. The weight of her glare was immense. I cleared my throat. "So, what happens if we just, don't fix it?" Zalara's expression became deadly serious. "Then my soul remains incomplete, my ascension forever severed, and I will be cast from the celestial order. A priestess without divinity is nothing." I swallowed. "Yikes." She nodded. "Yes, yikes indeed." "And, what happens to me?" Zalara hesitated. Then, with far too much smug amusement, she said, "Oh, you will most likely perish in a manner both violent and excruciating." I choked. "I'm sorry, what?" My brain scrambled to process that information. Never in my life had I thought accidental alien summoning would be the cause of my demise. Not getting hit by a truck, not choking on a piece of candy. Nope, it had to be this. Okay, so we just redo the ritual, right? Easy fix." Zalara gave me a look that implied extreme disappointment in my existence. "If it were that simple, I would not be wasting my time explaining it to you." She waved a hand, and the cosmic projection shifted, showing a shattered ring of celestial energy, its threads frayed and flickering. "The ritual cannot simply be restarted. The cosmic alignment has already passed, and the energy required to repair the disturbance is considerable." "Define considerable." She glanced around my apartment, gaze lingering on the pile of takeout boxes and laundry I still hadn't done. Then she looked back at me and smirked. "More than a primitive like you could possibly imagine." Rude. "Okay, well, there's gotta be a solution, right?" Zalara crossed her arms, considering. "Possibly. But it would require attuning to the remnants of the disrupted ritual, tracking the displaced energy, and finding a new celestial convergence point before the next cycle. Great. How do we do that? With immense difficulty and at great risk to your fragile existence." I groaned. "That is not the answer I was hoping for. Yet it is the answer you have." Before I could launch into another round of panicked questioning, a low, reverberating hum filled the air. The lights flickered, and the golden filigree around Zalara's wrists pulsed violently. She stiffened. "No, not yet." I did not like the sound of that. "Not yet what?" Then, as if in answer, a jagged crack of energy split through the air, right in the middle of my apartment. And through it, I saw something that made my stomach plummet. Figures in flowing midnight blue robes stood within a shimmering portal, their eyes glowing like dying stars. Their hands were raised in perfect synchrony, weaving sigils of pure celestial power. Zalara clenched her fists. "The astral dominion has come to retrieve me." I stared at her. Is that a good thing? Her gaze flickered toward me, and for the first time since she'd arrived, I saw something unexpected in her expression. Worry. No, she murmured. It is very, very bad. The figures stepped forward, the portal flared, everything exploded into chaos. I didn't even have time to panic properly before the entire room was swallowed by a surge of blinding celestial energy. The Astral Dominion enforcers stepped through the portal with eerie synchronization, their midnight blue robes rippling as if caught in an invisible cosmic wind. The sigils they had traced in the air pulsed with power, forming intricate lattices of golden light that crackled like an electric storm. Zalara grabbed my arm and yanked me backward just as one of the enforcers raised a hand. A surge of raw force slammed into the spot where I had just been standing, the impact shattering my coffee table into dust. "What the hell?" I yelped, stumbling over my own feet. Zalara didn't answer. She was too busy countering the attack. With a flick of her wrist, the filigree on her arms pulsed, sending out a wave of violet light that clashed against the enforcer's golden sigils. The air between them rippled violently, like reality itself was caught in a tug-of-war. "You have defied the celestial order," one of the enforcers intoned, their voice layered and inhuman, like multiple people speaking in perfect unison. "High Priestess Zalara, you will return with us. The mortal shall be cleansed." "Yeah! See, I don't like the sound of that!" I shouted, ducking as another blast of energy seared the air above my head. Zalara gritted her teeth. "They must not take me. We are still bound. If they sever the link forcibly, it will annihilate us both. Wait, what?" She didn't wait for me to process that horrifying revelation. Instead, she grabbed my wrist, and the cosmic band between us flared with energy. "Hold on, mortal," she commanded. The air around us twisted. My stomach dropped as the world seemed to fold inward, colors bending and stretching in impossible ways. Then we vanished. We reappeared with a jarring thud, my feet hitting solid ground so suddenly that my knees buckled. I barely managed to stay upright. We were no longer in my apartment. I blinked, my brain struggling to process the sudden shift. We were standing on the edge of a towering skyscraper, the neon-lit skyline of the city sprawling beneath us. Airships and hovercars zipped through the sky, their lights leaving streaks against the smog-choked night. A holographic billboard flickered nearby, advertising some kind of high-tech ramen joint. Where the hell are we?" I gasped. Zalara took a steady breath. "Still within your world. The veil between the mundane and the cosmic is thinner in certain places. This city is one of them. I used what little power I could spare to relocate us." "Right. Teleporting. That's normal." I put my hands on my knees, taking deep, panicked breaths. "Totally fine. Just casually fleeing from space wizards, no big deal." Zalara turned, her glowing violet eyes scanning the horizon. The cosmic band on her wrist pulsed. "They will find us again soon. Their tracking methods are relentless." I ran a hand through my hair. "Okay, so, what's the plan here? Do we just keep teleporting until they give up?" She looked at me like I was an idiot. "No, the Astral Dominion does not give up. They will chase us across time and space if necessary. We need to find a way to sever their hold before they sever us." "Fantastic. Love that for us." I straightened, glancing around. If we were still in my world, then maybe, just maybe, there was something I could do to help. I wasn't exactly a cosmic being, but I was a human, and if there was one thing humans were good at, it was improvising. "All right. You said the energy from the ritual is still out there, right?" She nodded. "So, can we track it? Like, follow the cosmic breadcrumbs or whatever?" Zalara hesitated. "Perhaps, but it will require a stabilizing anchor, something attuned to both of us." I frowned. "Like what?" Her gaze flicked down to my wrist, the one still bound to hers by the shimmering cosmic band. "Oh," I said. "Oh no, no, that sounds very ominous." Zalara tilted her head. "You did say you wished to assist." "Yeah, but I was thinking more in the hold a flashlight while you do magic kind of way, not in the possibly get my soul ripped in half way." She smirked. "Too late." Before I could argue, she raised her free hand and pressed 2 fingers to my forehead. A sharp, electrified shockwave ran through me, like I had just licked a live wire connected directly to the universe. My vision blurred, my body locked up, and for a moment I saw stars, nebulae, shattered cosmic threads, the broken remnants of the ritual, scattered across reality like pieces of a shattered mirror. Then I snapped back to my body, gasping for air. Zalara pulled her hand away, her expression strangely satisfied. There, now we can track it. I wobbled on my feet. Cool, love that. Definitely didn't just almost die or anything. She gave me an approving nod. You survived, that is promising. I groaned. Again, not comforting. Then the air shifted. A new pulse of cosmic energy rippled through the city. Zalara's head snapped toward it, her expression sharpening. They're here. I cursed. Already? She grabbed my hand. Run. And just like that, we were on the move, dashing across the rooftops, pursued by enforcers of an empire that ruled the stars. I had never sprinted across a rooftop before. Turns out, it sucks. The neon glow of the city blurred as we bolted from one building to the next, my legs burning from exertion, my lungs working overtime just to keep me from keeling over. Meanwhile, Zalara moved with frustratingly perfect grace, her cosmic energy barely disturbed by the whole running for our lives situation. Behind us, the enforcers of the astral dominion were closing in. A golden sigil flared to life mid-air, pulsing with raw celestial energy. A moment later, a blast of pure force ripped through the rooftop behind us, sending chunks of metal and concrete flying in all directions. I barely managed to stumble forward before the impact could turn me into a human pancake. Zalara barely looked back. You are slowing us down, mortal. Yeah, well, sorry if I don't have cosmic superpowers, I gasped. Maybe next time you can summon a track star instead of a guy who eats too much takeout. Another sigil formed mid-air, crackling with energy. Zalara spun on her heel and flicked her wrist, her own magic colliding with the sigil in an explosion of violet and gold light. The impact shook the building beneath us, sending a spiderweb of cracks through the rooftop. She turned back to me, her expression unreadable. If you die, it will be extremely inconvenient for me. I blinked. That is the closest thing to concern you've shown me since we met. She rolled her eyes. Do not be mistaken. This is purely self-preservation. Another pulse of energy erupted behind us, a wave of force smashing through a rooftop sign. I ducked instinctively as debris rained down, but Zalara simply raised her hand, and the falling pieces disintegrated mid-air before they could touch us. Stop them, one of the enforcers commanded. Their voices still held that layered, inhuman quality, and it made my skin crawl. A shimmering barrier of golden light formed ahead of us, blocking our path. Zalara gritted her teeth and skidded to a halt. I nearly slammed into her back. They are attempting to contain us, she muttered. Great, I wheezed. Love being contained. What's the plan? She glanced over the edge of the rooftop. We jump. I stared at her. That is not a plan. She turned to me, her expression perfectly calm. It is now. Then she grabbed my arm and yanked me over the edge. There is no feeling quite like free-falling through the air with absolutely zero control over your fate. My brain did not process it well. I screamed loudly. Zalara, in contrast, looked annoyingly composed, even as we plummeted toward the streets below. A second before we could become high-speed street pizza, she flicked her wrist, and the cosmic band between us flared to life. A sudden shift in gravity yanked us sideways, and instead of splattering on the pavement, we landed with a jarring thud on a lower rooftop. I collapsed onto my hands and knees, gasping for breath. Holy crap! Zalara didn't even break stride. Get up! They're still pursuing us! You are way too calm about this, I wheezed. She ignored me, already scanning our surroundings. I forced myself to my feet, legs shaking. I was not built for this level of cardio. The enforcers weren't far behind. They moved with unnatural precision, stepping effortlessly over the edge of the building, their forms suspended in midair like reality itself refused to let them fall. One of them raised a hand, and the air shimmered, preparing another blast of energy. We need to break line of sight, Zalara murmured. I blinked. What? Before I could react, she grabbed my hand again and pulled me forward. I barely had time to process where we were going before she shoved me through a nearby maintenance door and into the stairwell of an abandoned high-rise. Darkness swallowed us. the only light coming from the flickering emergency panels on the walls. The sudden silence felt deafening compared to the chaos outside. We stopped at the first landing. I doubled over, desperately trying to breathe like a normal person. Zalara, of course, looked completely unaffected. "I hate running," I panted. "Your body is woefully inefficient," she observed. "Gee, thanks." Zalara pressed her palm against the metal wall, her fingers glowing faintly. A soft pulse of energy rippled outward, sealing the door behind us with a shimmering ward. I wiped sweat off my forehead. That's gonna keep them out, right? For a time. I exhaled heavily. Cool. That's really reassuring. She turned to me, her expression measured. "We cannot keep running forever. We must move forward with our plan." "Right," I said. "The plan. Which is—" She hesitated, just for a fraction of a second. Then she spoke. "We need to find the Nexus Gate." I frowned. "The what now?" "The disruption of the ritual created a tear in the cosmic fabric. There will be remnants of the ascension energy scattered throughout your world. If we locate the strongest concentration of that energy, we can use it to stabilize the rift and complete my ascension. And that'll unbind us?" "Yes." I nodded slowly. "All right, that sounds good. Where's this Nexus Gate?" Zalara exhaled. "That is the problem. It will not be in one fixed location. The energy will move, drawn to places of high celestial resonance." I stared at her. "And how do we track that?" She held up my wrist, where the glowing band still shimmered faintly. "You are now attuned to it. You will guide us." I froze. "Hold on," I said. "Are you telling me that I'm our magic GPS?" She smirked. "Yes. Oh, I hate this." "Then you had best hope you are good at it." Before I could protest, something slammed against the warded door behind us. The air vibrated as the sigils flared to contain the impact, but they wouldn't hold forever. Zalara turned back to me, her expression sharp. "We move. Now." I swallowed. There was no turning back. I had no idea how to be a human divining rod for cosmic energy, but apparently, I didn't have much of a choice. Zalara grabbed my arm and pulled me forward, her grip unreasonably strong for someone who looked so effortlessly graceful. The sigils on the warded door behind us cracked, and I could hear the enforcers chanting something in that unsettling, layered voice. "Just checking," I gasped, trying to keep up as she led us deeper into the stairwell. "If they break through, do we have a backup plan?" "Yes," Zalara said, glancing over her shoulder. "Do not let them catch you." "Great. So the plan is, don't die." "An efficient plan," I groaned. The emergency lights flickered as we descended, our footsteps echoing through the narrow metal stairwell. My wrist tingled, the cosmic band shimmering faintly, but I had no idea how I was supposed to track anything with it. "So, how does this work?" I asked, holding up my glowing wrist. "Do I just, point in a random direction and hope for the best?" Zalara narrowed her eyes. "The binding has attuned you to the remnant energy. You must focus." "Yeah, cool, but what does that actually mean?" She let out an exasperated sigh. "Close your eyes and sense the pull." I frowned but reluctantly obeyed. For a second, all I got was a whole lot of nothing. Then, slowly, I felt it, a faint tug, somewhere in the back of my mind. It wasn't exactly a direction, more like an awareness, a gravitational pull toward something vast and powerful. It made my stomach churn. I opened my eyes, swaying slightly. "Okay, that was weird." Zalara studied me. "You have it?" Maybe?" I turned in the direction where the sensation felt strongest. It was subtle, like a whisper at the edge of my perception, but it was there. "I think that way." She nodded. "Then we move." Before I could question whether my instincts were remotely accurate, she grabbed my wrist and pulled me through a side door, shoving us into a dimly lit alleyway. I barely had time to process our surroundings before the air split open behind us. The warded door we had just fled from exploded inward, a wave of golden energy rippling outward. The enforcers stepped through the dust and debris like unstoppable sentinels, their glowing eyes locked onto us. Zalara didn't hesitate. She flicked her wrist and the cosmic band between us flared. Suddenly, I felt a surge of power, as if the binding itself had synced with my movements. Then we ran. Running through the city at night should not have felt this surreal. But something about the way the energy pulsed through my veins made the world feel sharper, louder, more alive. Neon lights streaked past us as we weaved through narrow streets, old marketplaces, and towering megastructures. The air was thick with the scent of engine oil, damp concrete, and the occasional waft of something that smelled suspiciously like fried noodles. We sprinted past startled pedestrians, ducking through flickering holograms and sidestepping delivery drones. At one point, I nearly collided with a guy selling cybernetic implants out of a back-alley booth. He swore at me in a language I didn't understand, but I had no time to stop. I could still feel the pull of the Nexus energy, dragging us toward an unknown destination. Behind us, the enforcers followed relentlessly, their movements unnatural, their golden sigils illuminating the streets in eerie patterns. Every time they raised their hands, another blast of celestial force erupted, barely missing us as we dodged through the maze of the city. Zalara's grip tightened on my wrist. "Faster, mortal!" "I'm trying!" I gasped. Another explosion ripped through the air, sending a cascade of sparks from a broken neon sign. We turned a sharp corner, my heart pounding. Then I saw it. At the end of the street, nestled between two crumbling skyscrapers, was an archway made of pure, swirling energy. It was barely visible to the naked eye, just a shimmer in the air, like a heat wave on asphalt. But the moment I saw it, my bones knew. That was it. "The Nexus Gate!" I shouted, pointing ahead. Zalara's eyes flashed. "Move!" We barreled toward it, my lungs burning. The enforcers were right behind us. One of them raised both hands and a sigil flared to life, far brighter than any before. The air around us locked up, as if gravity itself had been rewritten. I couldn't move. My legs refused to respond. My body felt like it was encased in solid stone, frozen in place just a few feet from the gate. Zalara wasn't trapped, but she had stopped. She turned back toward me, her expression shifting from frustration to something else entirely. Her violet eyes narrowed. Then she made a choice. Instead of running ahead, instead of saving herself, she reached for me. The cosmic band between us flared with power, and in an instant, she transferred some of her energy into me. It hit me like a lightning bolt, shattering the paralysis and sending a wave of adrenaline through my body. I gasped, stumbling forward. Zalara's voice was sharp, commanding. "Run!" I didn't think. I ran. The enforcers unleashed one final attack, a golden blast ripping through the air toward us. At the last possible second, we dove through the Nexus Gate. The world split apart, and everything went white. I wasn't sure what getting ripped through a cosmic portal was supposed to feel like, but I was pretty sure it wasn't supposed to feel like being launched through a black hole while on fire, and also drowning at the same time. The moment we passed through the Nexus Gate, reality itself fractured. There was no up or down, no light or darkness, no sound, just a pressure, like my body was being compressed and stretched in infinite directions at once. My thoughts felt like they were being rewritten, scattered across 1,000 different places in time and space. I barely registered Zalara's grip tightening on my wrist, her energy flaring around us like a protective cocoon. If not for that, I was pretty sure I would have ceased to exist entirely. Then, suddenly, impact. We slammed into solid ground. For a long moment, all I could do was lay there, staring up at an unfamiliar sky that looked like a swirling canvas of shifting galaxies. My brain struggled to reboot. I wasn't dead. That was the good news. The bad news? I had no idea where the hell we were. Zalara groaned beside me, pushing herself up. The cosmic band between us flickered weakly, its glow unstable. I coughed. Well, that sucked. She shot me a glare, but for once she didn't correct me. I forced myself into a sitting position and took in our surroundings. We were in some kind of floating landscape, a vast expanse of jagged rock formations suspended in an endless void. Strange glowing flora pulsed with faint energy, casting eerie lights across the terrain. There was no sun, but the sky itself radiated light, swirling in endless cosmic patterns. Far in the distance, enormous ruins of an ancient temple jutted out of the floating land masses, cracked pillars and shattered monoliths standing like forgotten sentinels. A low hum vibrated through the ground beneath us. "Okay," I breathed. "So, where are we?" Zalara scanned the landscape, her expression troubled. "A liminal space, the remnants of the celestial rift. This is where the energy displaced by the failed ritual was drawn to." "Right. Liminal space, totally normal." I rubbed my face. "And how do we get out?" Her gaze flickered toward the distant ruins. "The energy must be anchored. If we can reach the temple and stabilize it, I may still be able to complete the ascension." I frowned. "And if we don't?" Zalara hesitated. Then slowly she said, "This place is not meant for mortals." It took me a second to realize what she meant. The weight in the air, the pull of something unnatural, the way reality itself seemed unstable here. I wasn't supposed to be here, and if we didn't fix this soon, I probably wouldn't be for much longer. "Right," I said, pushing to my feet. "Then let's go before I disintegrate or something." Zalara didn't argue. We moved. The terrain was eerily quiet as we made our way toward the ruins. Every step felt heavier, like the very air here was trying to drag me down. The only sound was the faint humming of the energy beneath us, a strange resonance that seemed to react to our presence. "Hey," I said, glancing at Zalara. "Back there, when we were running for our lives. You didn't leave me behind." She didn't look at me. "Of course not. But you could have. If you had gone through first, they wouldn't have been able to stop you." Zalara exhaled. "You are bound to me. If you were lost, so too would be my chance at ascension." I studied her. Something about the way she said it didn't feel entirely honest. "Right," I said slowly. "Of course. That's the only reason." Zalara didn't respond. The silence stretched between us. Then the ground rumbled. We both stopped. A few feet ahead, the terrain split open, and something began to rise. I stepped back instinctively as a massive figure pulled itself from the rock, its form shifting like a living void, an impossible mass of jagged limbs and flickering cosmic energy. Its eyes, if they could even be called that, burned like twin stars. Zalara's entire posture shifted, her cosmic filigree glowing brightly. "A Rift Guardian." I swallowed hard. "And that is..." She didn't take her eyes off the creature. "A being that exists to prevent those unworthy from reaching the core of the rift." I did not like what that implied. "So, we can just explain that we're trying to fix things, right?" The Guardian's head snapped toward me. A deep, rumbling voice echoed through the air, not spoken in any language I knew, but I somehow understood it anyway. "The trial of the rift begins." I turned to Zalara. "Yeah, I don't think it wants to talk." She shifted into a stance I didn't recognize, her cosmic energy pulsing. "Then we fight." The Guardian lunged. The Rift Guardian moved like a living black hole, shifting and warping the space around it. Its massive form flickered between solid and incorporeal, tendrils of pure celestial void twisting outward like hungry shadows. And it was coming right at us. Zalara moved first. She raised her hands, and the golden filigree on her skin blazed to life, pulsing with violet and blue energy. A wave of raw force exploded outward, smashing into the Guardian and sending a shockwave across the floating terrain. The sheer impact rattled my bones. The Guardian barely staggered. Instead, its burning void eyes locked onto me. My stomach dropped. "Why is it looking at me?" I shouted, stepping back. "You are the anomaly here," Zalara snapped. "It senses that you do not belong in this realm." "Yeah, I kind of figured that out already." The Guardian lurched forward, a massive arm of swirling cosmic darkness swinging in a wide arc. Zalara barely managed to dodge, flipping backward with unnatural grace. I, on the other hand, did the only thing my stupid, fragile human body was capable of doing. I tripped. I hit the ground hard, barely rolling out of the way as the Guardian's attack shattered the rock where I had just been standing. A shockwave of raw energy blasted outward, making my ears ring. Zalara was already on the offensive, her hands weaving intricate sigils mid-air. Cosmic energy coalesced around her fingertips, forming a spear of light. With a flick of her wrist, she launched it at the Guardian's center mass. The spear hit. The Guardian howled, its form rippling in pain. But instead of falling, it absorbed the energy, its body growing larger. I scrambled to my feet. I think you just made it stronger?" Zalara's jaw tightened. "No, I am learning its pattern." Cool. Glad one of us knows what's happening." The Guardian lunged again, shifting through space unnaturally, like it was moving through multiple dimensions at once. In an instant, it was right in front of me. Time seemed to slow. I had zero training, zero magic, and no idea how to defend myself against a literal cosmic horror. But then the binding on my wrist pulsed. My instincts screamed, "Move!" I dove to the side just as a wave of crushing void energy smashed into the ground where I had been standing. The blast sent a shockwave through my body, but I was still alive. Zalara's voice rang through the air. "Mortal, listen to me. Now you want to give me instructions." I dodged another swipe, barely keeping my balance. "You are attuned to the Nexus energy. The Guardian is reacting to you because it senses an imbalance. You must, less talking, more telling me how not to die." Zalara's eyes narrowed. "Trust your instincts. The energy will guide you." I didn't know what that meant, but I didn't have time to argue. The Guardian lunged again. Something clicked in my brain. I didn't dodge this time. I moved with the energy instead of against it, letting the cosmic current pull me forward. My body reacted before my mind could process it. My wrist pulsed with light, and suddenly, the Guardian's movement slowed. For the briefest moment, I could see the patterns in its attacks, the way its form flickered between realities, the weak points where the rift energy was unstable. It wasn't invincible. I twisted mid-motion, barely grazing one of the flickering weak points with my palm. A shockwave of blue-white energy surged outward, and the Guardian howled in pain, staggering backward. Zalara's eyes widened slightly. "Interesting. I have no idea what I just did," I admitted. She smirked. "Then do it again." The Guardian roared, its massive form rebuilding itself. But now, I wasn't just reacting. I was reading it. I could feel the pulsing threads of reality, the fragmented rift energy woven through its existence. And I knew, somehow, that if I could disrupt those threads, I could end this fight. Zalara moved beside me, her energy syncing with mine through the binding. "For someone who claims to have no power," she murmured, "you are surprisingly capable." "Yeah, well, desperation is a great motivator." The Guardian charged. This time, we moved together. Zalara wove her celestial sigils, and I followed the energy's pull, dodging the creature's strikes with unnatural ease. Every time it flickered, I targeted the unstable rift points, and with each strike the Guardian weakened. The battle reached its peak. With one final surge of energy, Zalara and I struck at the same time, her magic severing the core threads while I disrupted the rift's unstable anchors. The Guardian let out a final piercing wail. Then it collapsed inward, its body unraveling into pure cosmic energy, dissolving into the void. For a long moment, neither of us moved. Then I exhaled. "Oh my stars, did we just win?" Zalara brushed dust off her armor. "It would appear so." I doubled over, hands on my knees. "I hate everything about that." Zalara tilted her head, watching me. Then unexpectedly she said, "You did well." I blinked. "Wait, was that a compliment?" She smirked. "Do not get used to it." I rolled my eyes. "Great. So, what now?" She turned toward the temple. "We finish what we started." The ruins of the temple loomed ahead, ancient structures floating in the endless void. The architecture was unlike anything I had ever seen. Vast, impossible, seemingly built from the very fabric of the cosmos itself. Massive archways shimmered, shifting between solid stone and swirling nebulae, as if reality couldn't decide what shape they should take. Zalara stood beside me, her violet eyes locked on the temple's core. "This is it," she murmured. "The Nexus, the source of the energy displaced by the failed ascension ritual." "Cool. And what do we do when we get there?" She turned to me, her expression unreadable. "We restore balance. I complete the ritual. I ascend." Something about the way she said it made my stomach twist. "And, what happens to me?" Zalara didn't answer immediately. Instead, she started walking toward the temple. "Hey!" I jogged after her. That was not a nothing happens to you kind of silence. She kept moving. If the ritual is completed correctly, the celestial link between us will be severed. You will return to your world, unharmed. I frowned. And if it isn't completed correctly? Zalara hesitated for the briefest moment. You will be consumed by the rift. I stopped in my tracks. Excuse me? She exhaled sharply, finally turning to face me. This was never meant for a mortal. You were never meant to be part of this. The fact that you are still standing here is an anomaly. Yeah, and I'd love to keep being an anomaly that's alive, thanks. She studied me for a moment. Then, to my complete shock, she softened, just slightly. I will ensure the ritual succeeds, she said. I will not let you be lost to the void. For some reason, I believed her. I swallowed. All right, let's do this. We stepped forward, into the heart of the Nexus. The moment we crossed the threshold, the air changed. I felt it first, a crushing weight pressing against my chest, like the universe itself was holding its breath. The energy in the air was so thick and unstable that it made my skin tingle, like static electricity crawling over my nerves. Zalara extended her hands, and the cosmic filigree on her body glowed brighter than ever before. The ritual must be completed at the center, she said. Stay close. Wasn't planning on wandering off into the infinite void. Thanks. She led us deeper into the temple. The architecture became less physical and more abstract, as if we were stepping into a place that existed between dimensions. Strange symbols flickered along the walls, some ancient celestial script I couldn't read, but somehow understood anyway. Then we reached it, the heart of the Nexus. A massive orb of fractured energy floated above the platform, shifting between gold, violet, and blue, crackling with unstable power. The very air warped around it, distorting space and time. This is the rift, Zalara said. The remnants of the ascension energy, fractured, scattered. I must reclaim it, restore it. I took a cautious step forward. And how do you do that? She didn't answer. Instead, she lifted her hands and everything erupted into chaos. The entire temple shook violently. The Nexus orb flared, energy ripping through the air like a living storm. The cosmic binding between us flashed, and suddenly, I felt myself being pulled toward the rift. I barely managed to stay on my feet. Zalara, something's happening! She gritted her teeth, her entire form radiating light. The energy is unstable. It is resisting me. Yeah, I kinda got that. The ground beneath us fractured, cracks of pure cosmic light spreading in all directions. The Nexus was fighting back. And then, a voice. You are unworthy. The words didn't come from Zalara. They didn't come from me. They came from the rift itself. Zalara's eyes widened. No, I was chosen. This was foreseen. You are not whole. Zalara staggered, as if the words physically struck her. I had no idea what was happening, but I knew one thing. The rift was rejecting her. I turned to her. Zalara, what does it mean? Her expression was something I had never seen before. Fear. It means, she swallowed, it means I am no longer the one meant to ascend. The realization hit me like a freight train. Oh hell no. Are you telling me it wants me? Before she could answer, the cosmic binding exploded with light, and I felt my entire soul being pulled toward the rift. The Nexus rift pulled at me with a force beyond anything I had ever felt. It wasn't just a physical pull. It was deeper, reaching into my very existence, like something ancient and infinite had suddenly noticed me and decided I was part of the equation now. Zalara struggled against it, her golden filigree flickering, the power around her unstable. She tried to step forward, but the moment she did, the rift recoiled from her, rejecting her presence outright. You are not whole. The words rang through the void, cold and absolute. Zalara's expression twisted into something I'd never seen before. Raw disbelief, a deep, soul-crushing sense of loss. This is wrong, she whispered. I was meant to ascend. I was chosen. I gritted my teeth. Yeah, well, tell that to the giant reality vortex that currently wants me instead. She looked at me, her violet eyes flickering with a mix of emotions I couldn't quite place. He is the anomaly. The voice came from everywhere and nowhere, vibrating through my skull. The Nexus rift pulsed, and suddenly I saw flashes of something impossible. The ascension ritual, the cosmic energy, the moment I disrupted it. The energy should have collapsed into nothing, but it didn't. Instead, it had chosen a new path. It had chosen me. I gasped, stumbling forward as the connection deepened. The weight of it nearly broke me. I wasn't meant for this. I was just some guy, not a celestial being, not a priestess of an ancient order, and yet the anomaly must be corrected. The rift surged, and suddenly I was no longer standing on solid ground. I was being pulled into the energy itself. No! Zalara lunged, her eyes wide with something dangerously close to panic. For the first time, she didn't look like an untouchable celestial priestess. She just looked like someone terrified of losing something. Her fingers snagged my wrist, and the cosmic band between us flared violently, not with the unstable, flickering energy from before, but with something new, something stronger, something whole. The rift shuddered. The words stopped, and for the first time I heard nothing but silence. Zalara's grip tightened. "You are not alone in this," she said, her voice steadier than I'd ever heard it before. I barely had time to process what that meant before the entire Nexus rift exploded with light. Ascension is not about divinity. The thought didn't come from me. It wasn't a voice, not like before. It was something deeper, something I simply understood. It had never been about raw power. It wasn't about being chosen or being worthy. It was about balance, about understanding, about connection. I wasn't here to take the power. I was here to complete it. I looked at Zalara, and suddenly, I understood her too. She had spent her entire existence training for this. She had been raised to believe that ascension was her purpose, that it was her destiny. And now she was standing in front of me, realizing that it had never been about her alone. It had been about us. The cosmic band between us glowed brighter, the energy no longer chaotic or forced. It was stable, harmonized. The rift reacted immediately. The void stilled, no longer pulling, no longer rejecting. The raw, untamed power twisted, realigned itself, reshaped itself into something new. And suddenly, we weren't being dragged into it. We were holding it. Zalara inhaled sharply, her eyes wide with realization. "We are fixing it," I finished. She exhaled. "Together." The rift sealed. The temple stopped shaking. The fractured energy fused, forming something whole, something balanced. And then, everything snapped back into place. The void disappeared. We were standing in a vast open sky, endless stars stretching in all directions, suspended in the space between worlds. The cosmic binding between us was still there, but it was different now, no longer a shackle, no longer something forced. It was a connection. I exhaled, feeling like I had just run a marathon through time and space. "So, that happened?" Zalara looked at me, really looked at me. Something in her expression had changed. It wasn't frustration or impatience. It wasn't even amusement. It was something far more dangerous. Understanding. She smirked. "You are still an anomaly, mortal." "Yeah, well, guess I'm growing on you." She didn't deny it. The air shifted. The stars around us began to fade, and I felt a familiar sensation pulling at me, reality reasserting itself. We were going home, or at least somewhere new. As the cosmos folded around us, Zalara glanced at me one last time. "Do not assume this is the end," she said. I grinned. "Wouldn't dream of it." And then, we stepped into the next adventure.